Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. It is Thursday, May 23rd, and we are live, like always, right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas, and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. It's Thursday. Hope you guys have had a great week so far. We have at the Rock, and we are ready for another good show for you. We've had some pretty good shows this week. Thank you for the feedback that you guys provide for me. Thanks for the text that you send in. I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing, you guys that share the show. Anytime you do that, we really appreciate that too. So we are trying to bring you something that helps you. And I know that it's strange. I had a conversation with a new patient today, and I told her a bunch of stuff that I'm pretty sure she's never heard before in her life, and to dealing with some of the issues that she has, and so the things that we talk about in health, it's not a common thing to talk about. It's probably not something that you hear on a daily basis from the people that are in your life. It's probably not something that you hear on a daily basis from the people on your healthcare team. And so I know a lot of this stuff is strange. So that's why we say it over and over again. And we've been saying it for a while. And so that's that we keep doing. And we're going to talk about some stuff tonight. We're going to talk about extreme health. We're going to talk about some ideas tonight that one of the sentences that was said to me kind of made me think today. And that's kind of what we do. For all you guys that are new, that's what we do on the show. We try to bring you health information every night from 6 to 7 p.m. We're live on the radio at 98.7 while we're doing the show. We're also live on Facebook at several different places. Some of you guys are new. I know that somebody said, hey, we'll check you out on your YouTube channel. And it's at Health from the Rock on YouTube. And then the Rock Health and Wellness Center's on Facebook, and then Jason Clemmons, DC on X. So we're on all those spots right there if you're looking for us. And so we've got a couple things that we do. If you want to send me a text, you can send me a text at 806-794-0400, and I will answer it. I'll answer your questions. I'll either answer them live during the show or I'll answer them after the show. And also you can send me a live chat through Facebook if you're on Facebook, and I'll try to get all your questions answered. So you can always go back on the Facebook or channel or YouTube and check out the shows from the past. So if you're brand new to the show and you want to go back and see what we've been talking about, we can go all the way back to September. And that's something that we might do a little bit tonight, because I can't remember when we did the show on sleep and what day that was. And I had that, one of my patients was talking about, we were talking about sleep and caffeine and different pillows and all that sort of thing. And we referenced Matthew Walker's book on sleep. And so I said, man, I don't remember exactly which Wednesday it was when we were doing the book review shows on Wednesday. I got a whole stack of books that I can't wait to do another book review on. Leslie and I bought 2 more books yesterday, and I've got about 3 or 4 books over there that are on the list to get to, and I just got to get it all put together. I'm thinking maybe this weekend I'll have a chance, because we'll have 3 days, and so maybe I'll have a chance to get it all put together this weekend. But get us some new book reviews. But if you want to go back each Wednesday, starting September 1st, for like 14, 15 of those Wednesdays in a row, we did a book review night. And so there's some really good books involved in that. There's The End of Alzheimer's. There's The Hacking of the American Mind. We broke down Spark. We broke down Why We Sleep. We broke down The Body by Bill Bryson, we one at a time. I love that book. If you guys haven't read that book, that's a great book. And he's a super good author. So Bill Bryson is one. So but that's all those shows are available if you guys want to go back and check them out. So let's get to the what I wanted to talk about. I got a couple articles I want to go over, and then I'm going to have to kind of work through this, because I just wrote down the sentence earlier today, and it was it was a really interesting question. One of my ladies is going through a little bit of chemo and radiation, and she has a scar, and we were going to treat the scar, and she was asking me if the scar treatment was going to be was would interfere with any of the radiation that she had had, and it kind of got me thinking, and it is something that is very common. I haven't really talked about this. I thought, wow, that's something that I should talk about that on the show tonight, because there's there's an there's an interesting, I don't I might fumble through this a little bit, but um, in a health and wellness office, pretty I'd have to say it's 100%. I'd have to say it's 100% of everything that we do in the health and wellness office supports health and well supports health and wellness. Yeah, go, no kidding. I mean, hey, good job, Jason. That's really smart. Okay, no, that's not the way I wanted to say that. We're not contraindicated to anything else except for what might be considered something that's not health and wellness. Like, she was wondering if what we did was going to interfere with radiation. And the answer to the question was absolutely not. No, it's not going to interfere in any manner with the radiation that you're doing. But this made me think of how many times people will say, well, I didn't know if I should get adjusted because I didn't know if it would work against my physical therapy. Or I didn't know if I should get adjusted because I didn't know if it would work against something that my doctor had said. Or if I didn't know if I should take these vitamins because maybe it messes up my medication or whatever. Like, and that one right there is the rub. That's the one that is, like, I've got a lady that uh, she believes that she deals with an autoimmune disease, and that her body is genetically, it runs in her family. This autoimmune disease runs in her family, and she's genetically predispositioned to have this autoimmune disease, and that's the reason that she has the problems that she has. And so the medical model way of treating that autoimmune disease is to try to get the immune system as weak as possible, because which makes total sense, right? Like, if you really believed that your immune system through your genetics was mistakenly attacking you, then it would make lots of sense to me to say, well, my I got to better figure out how to get my immune system to attack me less. I better take some medications that actually weaken my immune system. Because if you believe that that was a true statement, and you really believe that you have well, I finally figured out I got an autoimmune disease and it's genetic, then let's try to get your immune system as weak as possible, because your immune system is attacking you and you don't want your immune system to do that. So we'd be better off if we just got your immune system to be as weak as possible. Well, in the wellness world, at least in my wellness world, and this show is called Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. So you are getting my version of wellness if you're listening to the show. In my version of wellness, the immune system doesn't mistakenly attack itself. And I'm an epigenetic guy, not a genetic guy. So I don't believe for 1 second that my immune system is mistakenly attacking itself. I don't think that happens. I don't really, I don't mean, I don't really care who disagrees with that, to tell you the truth. It's like, I don't think our immune system mistakenly attacks itself. I think it purposely attacks us, but it's not attacking self as much as it's attacking something. There's something that it's attacking but it's not doing it on accident. So the things that we would do in the office would be to try to move you to health as best we can. Everything that we would do is move you to health, and it just made me, one of the things it made me remember, that it's like, and I even tried to search it a little bit earlier today, was what would you do? Who is the one that told us that we should drink a Sprite whenever we get the flu? Like if we don't feel good, we should drink a Sprite. And I actually, it was funny because I actually Googled that or searched it or whatever, and I came across an article from Montana State University. This is a post from Montana State University, and it says, if you are sick with influenza, and it's getting here is a treating the flu list. Students can be seen at the SHP Medical Services for Care. After hours, call this number to connect and whatever. So this is on the Montana State University Student Health Partners Medical Services Flu Infrared. What if you're sick with the flu? What should you do? And it says right here, it's got some bullet points of what you should do to treat yourself. Number one, get plenty of rest. Okay, that's a good idea. Number two, drink at least 2 liters each day of fluids such as non-diet 7-Up, Sprite, Gatorade, ginger ale, broth, tea with sugar. Yes, soda pop is okay with a cold or flu. For runny nose and stuffy nose, try a decongestant like 12 hours Sudafed. Now, you know Sudafed is one of the things on the list that has acetaminophen. For cough, try cough syrup like Delcium. To reduce fever or symptoms, for symptom management, take ibuprofen, Motrin or Advil, naproxen, Aleve, or acetaminophen, Tylenol as directed on a bottle. Avoid aspirin. Taking Tamiflu, 75 milligram caps. And then stay at home until your fever has below 100 for 24 hours. Have your meals delivered. Cover your cough. Wash your hands. Okay. Now, I don't treat the flu. That's not something that we would do in a wellness office. We don't treat the flu. It's not anything that we're interested in doing. But we would not make recommendations to a sick person of things that would make them sick. We wouldn't make recommendations to a health. If I wouldn't make a recommendation, why would you tell a sick person to take something that would make a healthy person sick? That's what I was trying to say. Why would that make any sense, right? It does not make any sense in my world. Why would I tell a person that's got the flu to drink non-diet 7-Up, Sprite, Gatorade, ginger ale, tea with sugar? Why would I tell someone that's got the flu to take sugar? They must have some reason that they're doing that. It's just in a different world than the world we live in. That's a different world than the world that I live in. And I'm not treating the flu, but it was like, that is not something. That's not something that you need to stay hydrated. And yes, you don't need to get your blood sugar to drop, but drinking a 7-Up or a Sprite, I don't understand where that came from. To settle your stomach or something is because you're trying to change the pH level in your stomach or the carbonation in some form or fashion. Like it's like it's full of high fructose corn syrup. It's going to make my liver function worse. It's going to increase momentary inflammation in my gut. That would not make any sense to me. And then I'm going to take a Sudafed, which is acetaminophen, and follow it up with a Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, which is now going to take, which is also here to reduce fever. Take this stuff, which I wouldn't want to reduce fever, so it wouldn't make any sense to me, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to say right there in a very non-elegant way, is that these are people that treat sickness, and that's fine with me because that's not wellness. But there's just almost nothing that we do in a wellness office that would be contraindicated for you to get adjusted. Like we're not going to work against any other group unless, I mean, we would be working against the medical model that's trying to get your immune system to be weaker. That I guess that would be one group that we might actually be working against is the medical model to get your immune system weaker. Other than that, like we would there, I can't think of one thing that we would do in our office that would be against anything that would happen in a physical therapist office. Like we work every day with people that are getting physical therapy. It's a normal thing. That's totally fine. Like it works hand in hand. Anything else, it just works hand in hand. So the scar treatment that we do with the dolphins, and I've mentioned it lots of times on the show, for you guys that are new, the idea is that whenever you cut tissue, you cut through nerves, and you know that because it hurts. So you felt it. So there's some sort of sensory input right there, and that's a nervous system. And so if you cut tissue, you cut through nerves, and the body is going to use whatever metals it has in a scar to try to bring that scar together and make it as tough as possible. And when it brings that scar together and those free nerve endings are in there and those metals are up against those nerve endings, it causes interference in your nervous system. And interference in your nervous system is what we call subluxation. So what we do is we have two little microcurrents that we stick one positive and one negative right next to the scar to try to push. We're trying to push that metal out of that scar. And I've just had some really crazy results with it so far. And so she was wondering if doing that was going to work against the radiation. And I told her, not to my knowledge. I don't believe anything that we're doing in our office is going to work against you or try to make your body function any worse than what it is already functioning. It's everything we're trying to do is move you towards a state of health. So sometimes you don't know that, right? Some people will say, well, I didn't know if I should get adjusted because my back was, it was hurt. And I was like, well, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if I should get adjusted because I have bulging disc in my neck. I heard that one this week. Yep. Nope. No issue. I didn't know if I should get adjusted because I have rods and screws in my spine. Nope. No problem. We obviously don't adjust a segment that's got rods and screws in it, but we're working on your whole body, right? One of the patients today said, why would a little baby get adjusted? I adjusted a 3-week-old this week that was fussy and had some issues. Why would a 3-week-old, do they have chiropractic problems? Yep, but they have nervous system problems. They have interference in their nervous system because they were in a tight, confined space, and we pulled them out by some forceps, which is like tongs. Grab a hold of the head, and we're going to pull. You know, it takes 140 pounds of pressure to decapitate a child. Forceps and vacuum distractions can create up to 120 pounds of pressure. You got 120 pounds of pressure on that occiput and that atlas and that brainstem right there, and they're pressing on that whole skull, and that skull has sutures in it in order to overlap so that you can go through the birthing canal. And there's a whole rhythm to birthing that sets the spinal fluid in order and washes that spinal fluid up and down your spine. There's a reason that we have contractions. There's a reason that whole thing fits like that. That's not my mistake. A contraction, a lady having a contraction to have a baby is like innate design right there. That's as intelligent as anything that's ever existed on the planet. And then what happens when we go in there and disrupt that? It disrupts the birthing process. That's why the places that understand that have really good success with the babies being born and and born well. And so the uh, but if that child has some trauma at birth, then as soon as we can get them adjusted, the better off they're going to be. I mean, like really quick. We're really going to try to get them adjusted quickly. So, all right, that was. I guess that's all I wanted to say about that. Other than it just kind of made me think about the about there's just no reason that you should worry about something that we're going to do in a health and wellness office. Everything we do, from the nutrition to the fitness to the Alter-G to the Right Eye to all the stuff that we do is just trying to figure out as much as we can to what is going on with you and how do we get the interference away from you. And of course, like I say every single day, another new patient today with diabetes and metformin and all the other crap that goes along with it, and right side, left side brain's not firing. Remember that. That's something that I wanted to bring that because I think it's been at least over a week, maybe even 2 weeks since I mentioned this. And anybody that hasn't heard it, you can start to remember it a little bit. But the right side, left side brain stuff, right? With dopamine. Don't forget that. I really got to get some work done on this. Charles Zucker. You guys that don't know him, remember him. Charles Zucker, Cornell University, PhD, did the whole thing with mice. Just remember this. Remember this little drawing. Brain, just split it in half. Right side, left side. Right side has an affinity for adrenaline. Right side. Looking at the brain from the back. That's the right side. Left side has an affinity for dopamine. Dopamine is your neurotransmitter of anticipation. It's what drives you. It's what drives your seeking mechanism. And that's going to be a great one to talk about once we get through the archaeology of the mind with Jock Paintsep. But I hadn't got there yet. I've only got like 21 hours left of that book. And so, but I know that seeking mechanism is going to be a big deal that you guys are going to want to hear about. But just remember that if your left hemisphere is low on dopamine, you will seek an external source of dopamine in order to drive that system up. You will seek that external source, and that's where you'll get your carbohydrates. This is a good story. I wasn't even going to tell it, but I'll tell it. Yesterday, Leslie and I it was our anniversary, 31 years, and we worked the morning from 7:30 to 9:45, and then we had the rest of the day cleared off until 3 o'clock, and then we came back and we worked from 3 to 6, and then we started the show. So we had to run a few errands, and then we were hungry, so we're going to have like a late breakfast or an early lunch, kind of a brunch deal, whatever. And we wanted some breakfast, and so we talked about the places that we usually had gone for breakfast, and we said, you know what? It's been a long time since we've been to Cracker Barrel, and Leslie likes Cracker Barrel, and so we were like, let's go to Cracker Barrel. We'll get some breakfast. So we go in there and we sit down, and it was 11 o'clock, and the girl gave us the lunch menu, and we didn't want the lunch menu. So I got up, went back up to the front, got the breakfast menu, and I came back and we started looking for the omelet. And I looked, and the waiter came up and he said, well, can I get you guys something or whatever? And I said, well, I don't see the omelet on the menu. And he's like, we ain't never had an omelet. And he's like, and he came right behind himself and he said, it's been over 3 years since we've had an omelet on the menu. And I was like, well, all right, well, where's the double meat breakfast or whatever? And he's like, well, it's probably been 2.5 years since we've had the double meat breakfast on the menu. And he said, well, but I could get you that. You know what you do? You could get the big boy breakfast or grandpa's breakfast or something. And then it comes with, we could put some bacon and sausage on there for you. And then it comes with a side. We could get you a side. And I said, well, like, what are the sides? And he's like, well, we could get you some sort of hash brown casserole, or we could get you we get you some pancakes to go along with that, or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't want any carbs. I don't want any refined carbs at all. I was like, what? Like, can't we just get some eggs and sausage and bacon and maybe a little bowl of fruit or cup of fruit or something like that? And he's like, well, you just have to order the breakfast, and then, well, it was it was going to be like, I don't know, it was going to be some ridiculous number right there, uh, just to get some eggs and some bacon. So we just got up and left. We got up and left and went down the street to Farmhouse over here and had a sausage egg. And I had a sausage, bacon, and ham omelet with a little cup of fruit. It was great, but we couldn't get what we used to get at Cracker Barrel. What we found out is it's been over 3 years since we've been to Cracker Barrel. So I guess things change. We've got to take a break. We'll be right back. Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking trash about Cracker Barrel, but it's a supply and demand issue, right? And obviously, they haven't missed us in the last 3 years. Cracker Barrel is still open, and uh, and so that they don't care, and they're just supplying what the people want to eat, and that's what the people want to eat is pancakes and hash browns, casserole, and whatever the thing is that goes along with all that. And I guess obviously if I mean Cracker Barrel's, I mean I love Cracker Barrel. It's a cool store, and it's a, good old. I guess I don't know if that makes me old or whatever, but it was really funny. I was like, you can't get you can't get a protein plate at a breakfast place. We can't just get the double meat breakfast like we've gotten for the last 15 years at Cracker Barrel. Like, what's wrong with just having some eggs? Well, obviously, I know what's wrong with it from a business supply standpoint. No one's ordering it. Everybody's ordering pancakes, and so they're just eating all the refined carbohydrates. So why would Cracker Barrel keep it on their menu when the people that go to Cracker Barrel don't care about don't care? They're just going to have the refined carbohydrates anyway. So it was funny. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just pay for our tea. We'll just pay for our tea, and then we'll just move along. And he's like, no, don't worry about that. You don't have to pay for your tea. You guys have a great day. And so we just left, went down the street, and got us something different. When you get away from that, I'll talk about that again. That was this dopamine issue in the left hemisphere was what one of my patients had to deal with today. She never heard that before. She never heard that idea that low dopamine causes us to go external for our source, and that's where we want to get. That's where we search for those carbohydrates right there. Got to get us back on the radio. Okay, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and I got a couple of articles I want to go over with you tonight because there's some. There's one of them that's going to be quicker than the other one, I think. But you guys know how much I love talking about fish oil. And here's another one right here that I found today. This comes from the Archives of Ophthalmology, volume number 127, number 1, January 2009. Old stuff, right? 2009, way back in the day. That's about the time I started really learning about omega-3 fatty acids and how important they were. And here's one that we haven't talked about, I'm pretty sure. But omega-3 long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid intake inversely associated with 12-year progression to advanced age-related macular degeneration. Because I had this conversation with one of the patients this particular, maybe last week, that was dealing with macular degeneration. This comes from John Paul San Giovanni and some 3 other people. There's even a Tracy Clemmons in there, but how about that? This is the Archives of Ophthalmology. Age-related macular degeneration is a leading cause of vision loss. Age-related eye disease studies participants reporting the highest intake of omega-3 long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, let's break it down and just call it omega-3s, were approximately half as likely as their peers reporting the lowest intake of these nutrients to have age-related macular degeneration at baseline or to progress across a 6-year period. Age-related disease study from which this data was obtained is the largest longitudinal sample collected and classified with standardized methods as part of a natural history on age-related macular degeneration. Participants reported the highest baseline consumption of omega-3s were approximately 30% less likely than their peers reporting the lowest omega-3 consumption to develop advanced age-related macular degeneration by the end of the 12-year follow-up period. Omega-3s and their metabolites have the capacity to act on processes implicated in age-related macular degeneration pathogenesis. Because this concentration of retinal omega-3s is modifiable by and dependent on dietary consumption, these nutrients may represent an easily implemented approach to modifying risk of age-related macular degeneration progression. Key points from Dr. Murphy: the study is part of the largest longitudinal sample collection. Age-related degeneration is a leading cause of vision loss. After a 6-year period of participants reporting the highest intake of omega-3s were approximately half as likely as their peers reporting the lowest intake to have macular degeneration. After a 12-year period, participants reporting the highest baseline consumption of omega-3s were approximately 30% less likely than their peers to have age-related macular degeneration. So those are like the big points of that right there. I just saw it and I thought, well, I don't think we've talked about fish oil with our eyes, right? And how come we can do that? How come we could talk about fish oil with our eyes, and we could talk about fish oil with our kidneys, and we could talk about fish oil with our liver, and we could talk about fish oil with, I mean, it's like you could go through the list, and I think there was actually, actually some other ones here, and I didn't even go, like I didn't open up all the ones. I'll just click this one. I wasn't even going to talk about it, but this comes from Neuroscience Letters, March 26, 2007. Omega-3 fatty acids upregulated adult neurogenesis. They play a crucial role in development and function of the central nervous system. These components, which must be obtained from dietary sources, have been implicated in a variety of neurodevelopmental and psychiatric disorders. The presence of omega-6 fatty acids may interfere with omega-3 fatty acid metabolism. It is proposed that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids may alter neurogenesis via modulatory influences on membrane proteins, cytokines, and neutrophils. So, the experiment indicates that a few weeks of dietary increase of long-chain omega-3s can increase the number of new neurons. That's what neurogenesis means, is growing new neurons. And it says right here that a few weeks of dietary increase of long-chain omega-3s can increase the number of new neurons. The ratio of omega-6-3 acids is important because undesirable ratios can inhibit the conversion of ALA to EPA and DHA. If you're high in that, that's a problem. We had that, I think we talked about that this week with the 30 to 1 ratio that I had on one of my vegetarian patients. And it's like, dude, 31 is high, and you're vegetarian, so you're not going to take any fish oil, and you're going to try to convert your ALA to your EPA and your DHA from your green leafy vegetables or your flaxseed or your hemp or your walnuts or something like that, right? Well, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids is important because undesirable ratios can inhibit the conversion of ALA. That's what this article is saying right here. So you have a very low conversion rate of taking a plant omega-3 and turning it into EPA and DHA if your omega-6-3 ratio is out of control in the first place. So if you got a really high omega-6-3 ratio, you're not going to be able to, it's not going to work very good, right? So what would you have to do? You'd have to eat massive amounts of flax seeds or walnuts or hemp or whatever your green leafy vegetables that you're going to get some of that ALA from. You'd have to eat massive amounts to get the conversion over, to get the ratio back down. And I don't really know how you do it. Let's read this article, this sentence right here. Aquatic animals grown in captivity for eventual release into the wild in enhancement programs are often fed less nutritious, low-cost food. Unfortunately, feeding low-quality diets unenriched with long-chain omega-3s produce animals that are neurologically and physiologically weaker. Yeah, we know that because we know a lot about fish oil, right? On this show, we know a lot about it. We know a lot about omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids alter the rate of neurogenesis via their contributions to the dynamic structure and function of neural membranes. Omega-3 fatty acids modulate cytokine levels, which in turn regulate immune function. So your immune system, right? I think the more you hear it, the more you see it, the more you understand it. It's the whole body. It's not one part. It's all the pieces. All the pieces just need the omega-6-3 ratio to be proper in order for your body to function proper. So that's what I wanted to. That's all I wanted to say about fish oil. I didn't even mean to bring that other article up. And we'll go along because I know you guys get tired of me talking about fish oil, but there's two more articles. Maybe one of them is really the one I wanted to talk about. And this comes from the Lancet, which is I believe that's Harvard's deal, right? This is cholesterol and all-cause mortality in elderly people from Honolulu Heart Program, a cohort studies. Cholesterol and all-cause mortality in elderly people. And there's a bunch of MDs that put this whole thing together. This is the Lancet, volume 358, issue 9279, August 4th, 2001, page 351 to 355. That's where I got this right here. Background. A generally held belief is that cholesterol concentrations should be kept low to lessen the risk of cardiovascular disease. Now, this is from Irwin J. Schatz, MD, Kamal Masaki, MD, Katsukiyo Yano, MD, Randy Chen, MS, Beatrice Rodriguez, MD, and David Kerb, MD. Okay? A generally held belief is that cholesterol concentrations should be kept low to lessen the risk of cardiovascular disease. However, studies of the relationship between serum cholesterol and the all-cause mortality in elderly people have shown contrasting results. Means that the results that have been shown don't agree with that. To investigate these discrepancies, we did a longitudinal assessment of changes in both lipid and serum cholesterol concentrations over 20 years and compared them with mortality. And they go through the lipid and serum cholesterol concentrations were measured in 3,572 Japanese American men ages 71 to 93 as part of the Honolulu Heart Program. We compared changes in these concentrations over 20 years with all-cause mortality and 3 different Cox proportional hazard models. Mean cholesterol fell significantly with increasing age. Only the group with low cholesterol concentrations at both examinations, 20 years apart, had a significant association with mortality, an increased risk of mortality by 64%. If you had low concentrations in the beginning and you had low concentrations at the end, there was an increased risk of mortality at 64%. The interpretation: we have been unable to explain our results. These data cast doubt on the scientific justification for lowering cholesterol to very low concentrations in elderly people. The authors also note, researchers have been unable to conclusively show high concentrations of total serum cholesterol to be directly related to mortality in people older than age 65. Results of several studies have shown an inverse relationship or no relationship between total cholesterol concentrations and risk of death in elderly people. I'm going to read that again. Research of several studies have shown an inverse relationship or no relationship between total cholesterol concentrations and risk of death in elderly people. Now, how many of you out there believe that? How many of you out there go get your blood work done and look at your cholesterol levels, and the older you get and your cholesterol goes up, the more you worry about that, and you got to get your cholesterol levels down. And it says right here, only the groups with low cholesterol concentrations at both examinations. So if you're low cholesterol and you're 60 and you still have low cholesterol and you're 80, your chance goes up by 64% that you're of mortality. Why? Because your body, your innate intelligence, raises your cholesterol as you get older. Your innate intelligence does that because it's apparently what's supposed to happen. But we spend, I don't know how many trillions of dollars or billions of dollars on statin drugs every year. And what do statin drugs do? Get your cholesterol down, block your liver's function, so you lose your cholesterol, right? I'm just saying, I'm not saying it. I'm just reading what all these medical doctors said. Results of several studies have shown an inverse relation or no relationship between total cholesterol concentrations and risk of death in elderly people. These authors assessed changes in lipid concentrations over 20 years from 1972 to 1992 and correlated them with all-cause mortality in a large cohort of Japanese American men who were followed up in the Honolulu Heart Study. Higher cholesterol concentrations were associated with higher body mass index, they were less frail, higher HDL, good cholesterol, higher hemoglobin, better hand grip strength. That's a big one right there. Better hand grip strength. We do hand grip strength on every new patient that comes into the office. And hand grip strength is tied into mortality. And hand grip strength is a sign of brain health. How much pressure I can put with my hand, how much strength I have in my hand is not a sign of muscle strength in my arm. It's not as near as much important to me for muscle strength in the arm as it is for brain function on the opposite side of the brain. That's why. Think about that. Why would that be tested? What is that even in there for? We're talking about cholesterol. Higher cholesterol concentrations were associated with better hand grip strength. I'm going to let that was a dramatic pause right there, by the way. I'm going to let that sink in. Higher cholesterol concentrations were associated with better hand grip strength. Hand grip strength is a sign of better brain function. So maybe we could take A and B and C and mix them all together and say higher cholesterol concentrations were associated with better brain function. Uh-oh. There you go. Exactly. Kaplan-Meier survival curves showed lowest survival rates for those with the lowest serum cholesterol concentrations. Here's the discussion. Our data accord with previous findings of increased mortality in elderly people with low serum cholesterol and show that long-term persistence of low cholesterol concentrations actually increase risk of death. Thus, the earlier that a patient starts to have lower cholesterol concentrations, the greater risk of death. Our results lend support to previous findings that low serum cholesterol imparts a poor outlook on compared with higher concentrations of cholesterol in elderly people. Our data also suggests that those individuals with low serum cholesterol maintained over a 20-year period will have the worst outlook for all-cause mortality. Is this low effect unique to individuals of Japanese ethnic extraction? There is no evidence to support such contention. Risk factors for atherosclerosis in Japanese men are much the same as those for whites. The authors believe that there is no significant justification to lower cholesterol to concentrations below 4 to 65 millimeters or 180 milligrams per deciliter in elderly people. There's no belief that there is a significant justification to lower cholesterol concentrations to 180 milligrams per deciliter in elderly people. The authors note that the relationship between cholesterol levels and mortality in elderly people have not been adequately assessed in studies. Consequently, they measured serum cholesterol concentrations, and what they found was the ones with the lowest had a 64% chance of mortality. Yeah, and Dr. Murphy just goes through there and talks about all that, what we just talked about. So just sharing it with you. Just sharing it comes from the Lancet, and I'm just sharing with you some ideas right there that you go in, your cholesterol's high, they're going to put you on a statin. They're going to put you on a statin to take your cholesterol down. And we've talked about what happens with statins, and we talked about the I've shown you in the notes and how the statins break down and stop cholesterol, but they also stop CoQ10, and they also stop testosterone, and they also stop estrogen, and they also stop a lot of other stuff in the pathway that goes on that are super. All those things are important to the way that your body functions. And what those guys at the Lancet are saying is that there's no reason to get that down like that. And why is your cholesterol high in the first place? Because you've got damage to blood vessels somewhere in the body, and that's what your cholesterol is trying to do, is to fix the damage to the blood vessels. And the question is, why do you have the damage to the blood vessels? And that's probably because of your sugar content in your blood. So there you go. Just want you to have it. Just want you to know that I don't make it up. When you ask me, or hey, what do you think about statins? And I say, well, that's not my game because I can't put you on or take you off statins in the state of Texas. But I can tell you what this research says is that I'm not, me personally, I'm not interested in them. And so it's like, because they break down health. And that's what I was talking about earlier with the whole study of, like, from Montana State. What do you do for flu? Healthy things. What do I do to stay healthy? I do healthy things. What do I do when I get sick? I still do healthy things. Why would I do something? Where does chicken noodle soup come into the whole thing? Well, eat your chicken soup. It's chicken noodle soup the whole time. Eat chicken noodle soup and crackers and drink a Sprite. Now, why would you do that? That makes no sense. It makes no sense to me whatsoever that you're going to tell the sick person to do something that you wouldn't tell a healthy person to do, because you know if you told that healthy person to do that, it'd make them sick. So why would we tell the sick person to do something? We don't. We don't do that in our house. I never. I mean, I did that when I was growing up, and I did that before I had any sense. But if I get the flu now, I'm not having chicken noodle soup with crackers and drinking a Sprite. You know that. Okay, let's end on a positive note. Hey, my favorite book right here, Extreme Health. One of my favorite books, not my favorite. One of my favorite is The Master and His Emissary, besides the Bible. But yes, Extreme Health by Dr. James Guest. So he goes through the whole book. It's a great book right here. Goes through the whole book and gives you all kinds of studies. I mean, what about cancer? What about bone loss? Do athletes need more protein? Is there protein in vegetables a complete? What do you know about all this stuff, right? All of it right here. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Great book. We've gone through it lots of times. Get to the last chapter. Actually, we're in the epilogue right here. Just talking about what should we eat. This is from Dr. Guest, right? My nutrition teacher at chiropractic school. What should we eat? Eat lots of fresh vegetables and fruit. Be sure the majority of it's raw. That's what he says. Eat lots of fresh vegetables. Eliminate refined and processed foods, even if they come from the health food store made from organic ingredients. That's a big one right there. Eliminate refined and processed foods, even if they come from the health food store made from organic ingredients. And we talked about what a processed food is. If you can drive down the street, if you can drive down the highway and see a field of Pop-Tarts or cinnamon rolls, then you could stop and pick you a Pop-Tart, but you can't. You got to find something in the field. You got to take it to a factory. You got to make it into something. That's a cracker and all that stuff, right? It's processed foods. Eliminate refined and processed foods. I had a conversation with one of my diabetic patients yesterday because she was telling me all of the new drugs that they're giving her. She's 68, I think. And she's telling me all of the new drugs that they're giving her. And I said, why don't you eat a steak for breakfast? She doesn't like eggs. And I said, well, just eat a steak for breakfast. And she was like, do you really think I'm going to eat a steak for breakfast? Yep. That's what Jordan Peterson eats for breakfast. I've seen him eat it. He's had a video on him eating breakfast. Big old giant steak for breakfast. He does that carnivore thing, right? If you don't like eggs, eat some protein. Eat a steak for breakfast. There's all kinds of research. Go to Dr. Hyman's page on Instagram and just look through there, and you'll see the articles about the people that eat protein in the morning have less total calories that they consume throughout the day, and they decrease their chances of eating carbohydrates throughout the day. But people who start their day with carbohydrates will end up eating more calories and eating more carbohydrates as they go through the day. It's just a fact. Eat your protein in the morning. Drink plenty of water. Don't do drugs, including alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine. Yeah, we're hooked on some of us are hooked on that. Alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine. Exercise a little bit every day. Those are good things. Dr. Guest, he was saying that. It's a cool book. Extreme Health is what it's called. The Nutrition Connection. James H. Guest, DC, and CCN. And that's our show. Hey, if you got any questions, comments, send them to me. Share the show with your friends. Tell your friends about the Rock Health and Wellness Center. Let me know if I can help you or your family live a healthier life. That's what we're trying to do. If you have a text, send it to me. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow night at 6.